Hi, I'm Janet McMahon, and I am here today with my incredibly wonderful, talented friend, Michale McBride. Artist, incredible friend, actor, multi-talented. We're here at a studio in Nashville, Tennessee, and I am in art heaven. I want to know every story behind every painting here. It's just so exciting. Thank you for taking your time today.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming, Janet.
Oh, thank you. Tell us, we're going to talk about the individual paintings,
Okay.
but just a few kind of upfront questions. How long have you been a visual artist? Was this born in you as a baby?
Yes. At the age of 8, my mother told me, well, at the age of 8, I told my parents I was going to be an artist. My mother told me I started drawing at the age of 4. I remember drawing at the age of 6.
Do you remember what you drew at the age of 6?
At the age of 6, we used to draw out of the comic books, the Superman comic books, Batman comic books, and so copying from the comic books.
So not tracing, but
Not
drawing.
tracing, yeah, drawing, copying from the comic book.
Do you have any of those early works?
No, I don't think so. I wish I did. If they are, they're hidden somewhere among all the stuff that my mother had.
Exactly. Well, maybe you'll find them someday. They'd be worth millions, I'm sure.
Well, I do have my first 2 paintings ever. So.
And can you tell us about those?
Well, they were when I started taking painting when I was going into my junior year of college. And those were the first 2. One was a picture that I copied from the National Geographic that I liked, but then the other one was a picture I actually created out of my head, the other one.
What was the National Geographic?
The National Geographic was like a sunset of a man, silhouette of a man fishing in a fishing boat, like that, you know, like in the South Sea Islands or something, like throwing a net. And then the second one is of this tunnel. I had this idea about you're looking at the painting, but you're in the painting because you're going through this tunnel. And you get a chance to see it. You get a chance. They're both here.
Oh, we'll get to see it today.
Yeah, you get a chance to see them. Yeah, and to create that, so it was very interesting. I had to build a makeshift tunnel in the painting room with a thing of water and build a paper bridge like a tunnel to see how the light reflected and everything. And so that's how that was done.
How interesting.
Yeah.
And this was when you were how old?
I was a junior in college.
In college.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So you literally built the physical situation
so
that you could
so I could
make sure it's
understand how
realistic.
water and light reflected and everything.
Very interesting. You don't still have the
Nah, that was just some stuff I found in the studio at school. Did that now?
Do you still use that kind of approach? Where
Okay,
you build?
so I still do that. As a matter of fact, when I'm illustrating books, a lot of times I'm looking for images or position or perspective that I want. And so if I can't find it through Googling, then I have these miniature images, male and female, that I can do things with. So you can prop them in the position that you want and turn them, and then you can actually take your camera and shoot it and get the image that you want. Also on my computer, I have a program on my computer that I can actually move the image where I want to and do it in a 360 degree to look at it from different angles and all of that. And then I can print that off and I can have that position. So yeah, so technology has changed the game on a lot of stuff.
You've come a long way from building the little
Right,
tunnel out of the
you have
paper
to
things.
build it right.
That's how fun is that?
Oh, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, like you started out drawing and stuff and painting at maybe 4, maybe 6, right?
Well, I started drawing. I really didn't paint until I got to Tennessee State University. So to give you a prime example, growing up in the rural, we didn't have art in schools, in middle school, high school, anything. So I never really painted or did any of that, just drew until I got to college. And once I got to college, that's when I experienced painting and different stuff like that.
So where did you grow up?
So I grew up in a little place outside of Jackson, Tennessee, a little community called Meaden. Mm-hmm. It's a little community. Meaden is about Well, I grew up in what they call the Marshall community, which Johnny Marshall was an ex-slave, and he founded the community. And so in about a 3 or 4 square miles, all the land there is owned by everybody that's there, their relatives and stuff and all this. So growing up, I had a chance to play all over acreage and farms and forests and everything and all this, and still be on land of, cousins and all this stuff. Yeah, and they still to this day own all that stuff.
You still have family there?
Oh yeah, and cousins and all, they still own all the land today.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you drawn or painted many pictures from
And it's funny
that
you
land?
should say that, because when I first graduated around 1988, when I had my first show myself, and I had it at the old Maxwell House Hotel. I rented the room and everything and all that, and it was called From the Fields to the City Streets, and it was about me growing up on the farm and then coming to urban thing, and it's all the pictures of cotton field scenes and all the stuff of my growing up. So yes, that was the first thing I did.
Will we be able to see any of those today?
No, all of those gone. As a matter of fact, 17 of them are in St. Croix. The
Really?
doctor who bought them, they're in St. Croix.
Oh my goodness, how
Yeah.
interesting,
Yeah.
how interesting.
Yeah.
Well, what is your very favorite medium? That's a hard question because you probably have many.
You ask that question all the time, and I tell people because as a professor I teach illustration, printmaking, watercolor, painting, design, but I think I get a lot of enjoyment out of doing printmaking and watercolors, because a lot of that allows me to draw. It allows your drawing skill, and especially printmaking. I love the black and white look of it and just the drawing aspect of it. So I would say that, those two.
Interesting. And so tell me again what all you teach.
I teach watercolor, I teach illustration, I teach printmaking, I teach 2D design, I've taught 3D design, I've taught drawing, I've taught painting, I've taught ceramics. The only thing I taught photography. The only thing I haven't, art history, the only thing I haven't taught was sculpture.
Goodness gracious. Well, when I have run into students of yours, you are so loved and,
Well, thank you.
respected.
Thank
You
you.
really
Thank
are.
you.
You really are. You said you started out from the fields to the streets.
yeah.
Yes.
To City Street.
To city streets. But since then, I mean, just around here, I see so many different themes,
Yeah.
people.
Yes.
I mean, any of the even abstract, I look into these and I see a story. I see, I want to go in and I want to
Yeah.
be sitting there on a bench in the side of the
Right.
painting.
Right.
Because each one certainly tells a beautiful story. Do you have any theme that calls out to you the loudest in your heart?
Well, I think most of the work, most of my work, I like it to be positive in a way,
Yes.
in that way, and a lot has to do with culturally, African American culture, and I love people, and I don't like just doing people in the straight off way. I like to add a little bit of abstraction to it, or a little bit of things to make it a little bit different. Yeah.
Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. Well, I see a lot of people that I want to know their stories. Can we take a look at a few
Yes.
of these particular paintings?
Yes.
A minute ago, this one right here,
Right. That one is called
it's beautiful.
"You Must Be Like Sheep in order to know the shepherd."
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And to follow the shepherd. And so basically, my father I'm a preacher's kid. So my father was a bishop. And so I had this idea about 25 or 30 years ago that I wanted to do some religious paintings, because most of the religious paintings that you see is Jesus on the cross or somebody being baptized or, all of those traditional things. And I wanted to do something contemporary.
Yes.
In a sense, so I asked my father for 25 of what he felt were his greatest sermons, and so each one of the paintings that I'm going to do is the title of the sermon, and then I have the chapter and verse and all along with, with that as to where a person viewing can find it. So this first one is the first one, and it said, "Ye must be like sheep in order to follow the shepherd." So the shepherd is considered in contemporary time the pastor or the bishop or
Right.
the cardinal or whoever it is. And then the whole idea, you're looking at the sheep and the people, and they all have that same look in their eyes.
Yes.
And that was what I was trying to achieve, that same look, that you get, in that eyes. So putting the sheep and the people together,
It's beautiful.
was done in that way. And the Bible in his hand, and the staff and the whole light behind his head,
It's
that-
spectacular. It's
So-
spectacular. So I love the way that their eyes are the same.
Yes.
And I guess that's the look of commitment and
Yeah,
love and
yeah.
following
Right, exactly.
and serving the
Yeah,
shepherd and
exactly.
knowing that the shepherd is watching out
Right,
for them.
right.
That's quite spectacular. Thank you.
And one of the reasons I painted sheep so well is that for first 7-8 years of my professional life, I painted wildlife and animals and stuff. So I did that a lot of years.
Oh, and they are beautiful. They are beautiful. And you carried out the metaphor just, I love the Bible in hand, the light, the staff,
Right.
everything. And the placement of the people.
Right,
And I love it that it's 2 and 1 and then 2 and 1. It just,
Right.
the
exactly.
the
Mhm.
composition is
Yeah.
quite fantastic. Thank you.
And you look at the sheep, they're all a little different. You see more
Yes.
of the big male, and then that and that, and then in the front you see the man, then the woman, then the small younger man and stuff like that.
We're all similar but different.
Yeah.
But we're all
Mhm.
sheep. I love this. Thank you. Do you remember any of the other sermon topics that you did?
No.
That's
Not right
okay.
offhand,
That's
I can't
okay.
remember.
That's okay.
But I have, this is the first of the series.
Oh, this is the
very first
so you have 24 to go.
I have 24 to go.
And are you planning on doing all 24?
Oh, yeah. So the way I work, my process, the way I work, I like to work in series.
Yes.
So as you look around my studio, you'll see series and groupings and things. So
Yes.
that way you're constantly working. You're not trying to come up with what new ideas and that. You're
Right.
constantly working and moving forward.
Right.
Yeah. So
I love this idea. Will you do some sort of show on those once you
yes, I hope to make that a traveling exhibit. And I've had
It's beautiful.
several ministers that heard about it. And the thing about this is that I wanted to come up with a series of painting, an exhibition that people, church people who normally would not go to a gallery or whatever it is, would want to come to this gallery to see this. And it's not offensive and it's not anything and it's not Bible beating and and all this other stuff. It's just about looking at contemporary religious paintings, and going from there. And we have recordings of some of these sermons that was even done on the reel. That's how old some of them are. And so my hope is with the exhibition, you have this playing in the background, some of the sermons, and then I will have a big picture of him, which I will not paint. I actually have a photograph of him, and and the title and everything. So when you're entering and watching it, you can hear in the background some of the sermons and some of the stuff that's going like that. So it's creating a whole atmosphere.
Immersion.
Yes.
I've got chills. I got chills. I want tickets. It's beautiful. I know he
Yeah.
will be he'd be
Yeah.
smiling.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, can we take a look at a
Yes,
couple other
yes.
paintings?
Mhm.
Well, here we are. We walked a few steps to this beautiful series
Yeah.
of all sorts of famous people.
Okay.
I have a million questions. We see Paul Robeson, Waylon Jennings, James Brown, Dolly Parton, Malcolm X. We'll get to more in a few minutes. But explain to me, I love it that James Brown has green hair
Right.
and that Dolly Parton has yellow eyebrows and that Malcolm X, part of his beard is blue.
Okay.
I'm not creative like that.
That's
Tell me
right.
how did you think of that and what does it mean?
So, Andy Warhol
Yes.
came up with the idea about things he felt that were worthy of art, iconic, and that's things that society loves. Campbell soup. That's why he did the Campbell Soup King. You know, Marilyn Monroe, icons that that were people loved. So I thought about the idea of doing icons that I feel with icons, and so I said I wanted to do it in a way that he did, with the funny color. I mean, different hair and everything.
Yes.
So I decided to paint them, and I decided to do them in acrylic paint, but acrylic paint that it looks like it's a silkscreen look.
Yes.
The same way he's silkscreen. He didn't paint. He's silkscreen. So I wanted to do the same thing, and the idea was about I wanted people to look at these iconic portraits as paintings, and not so much as you're doing this likeness of this person, traditional portrait like. So I came up with the formula, and I started with the background first, always, and the color. Once I select the color of the background, then everything moves from there in terms of that. Now, there's one thing about these that you probably have not noticed. All of them have one single thing in common. And most people don't get it.
One single thing. I might need a break to study them more. You want to give me a hint?
All the eyes are black.
Oh! You are right.
And nobody thinks about that.
You're
Nobody,
exactly right.
When you see Dolly Parton, you don't think about, oh, she has blue eyes. You don't think about that.
No. Oh, how? And why did you decide to do that?
I decided to do that because then it got people out of, oh, well, Dolly has green eyes. If you have blue eyes, if you have this, oh, no, I think their eyes are light blue. You get it out of that, and you get them looking at the color. And that's what you wanted to do, to look at the color of it as a painting. So, of course, they don't have green hair and red and eyebrows and blue lips and stuff and all of that. And the colors are like Prince. I gave him this dark purple background because of him.
Yeah.
I gave Obama the light blue face because Obama's always cool. He's always cool. You never see him ruffle.
I
so
love it.
ice blue is cool.
Absolutely.
So it's those things like that. And the other pose that I picked for him, because all these people have lots of poses. All poses don't work for this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of poses of Paul Robeson that will not work for this particular style and what I'm doing.
Right.
So you have to pick the pose that that works for that style.
Yes.
And so that's what I did. So with Obama, because of how strong the marriage that he has with Michelle, I made sure that I picked the pose where it showed his wedding day.
Love it. Love it.
So there's little semblance of things. And Malcolm X, every picture you've seen of Malcolm X has always have this angry looking black man. I wanted people to see that he was also an intellectual. So I found a piece that would work to show an intellectual Malcolm.
Yes, and I also see some empathy and compassion in
Yes,
that too.
yes, exactly. So that's the whole thing. And then with James Brown is that, he's just delightful.
He
James
feels
Brown,
good.
yeah. And so that right there was that.
I love
that
it.
picture of that,
I love it.
just different one. And I like the picture of old Dolly, not new Dolly.
Uh-huh.
This is Dolly Parton.
Yes.
If you understand where I'm coming from.
Absolutely.
This is Dolly Parton,
Beautiful lady, isn't she?
So
Still is beautiful lady.
So Patsy Cline, and Johnny Cash, and George Jones and Waylon Jennings, and I liked Waylon, that picture of Waylon, because Waylon was one of the outlaws. So I wanted, with his two little pistol thing and all.
Yes.
So I wanted that picture of him, and I did want a Willie. I wished I still had it.
Oh.
But this 85-year-old black man bought it. He loved Willie Nelson. But the one of Willie was, it was spot on. It was classic.
I wonder if Willie's ever seen it.
No, Well, these have never been shown.
Well, Willie's still around.
I know.
He needs to.
You
Do you have a
see
picture of that?
I have a picture of it.
Well,
Yeah,
we
I
need
have
to get
a
that to
picture.
Willie. Not that
Yeah.
he's my good buddy, but
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
find him.
that
That is
was
so
something.
cool.
But these pieces have never. I've never really shown these. You know.
Well, they need to be.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. They're beautiful. I love it. Silly to ask. Do you have a favorite?
Not really. I think Willie was my favorite.
Really?
I think one that did of Willie. And then with the Janis Joplin,
She's
I
amazing.
picked a picture of Janet because Janet, all the pictures of Janet Joplin showed a very, in a sense, trouble.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
And I wanted a picture of her showing not so much trouble, but
Almost just creative.
yes,
The artistic
yes,
soul.
right. With the hand in the hair, it's like because she knew she was,
Yeah.
she was quite, creative and groundbreaking.
Wonder if Lord's gonna buy her a Mercedes Benz.
Right.
Her friends all drive Porsches.
Yeah. So-
Well, this is magnificent. A little bit of a rabbit hole. How do you know when you're done?
So, what I tell my
With
students,
particular pain.
well, my students ask me the same thing, and I tell my students, you're done when, if anything you do to it does not change it drastically, does not really change it to see there's something different, then you're done.
And you know that.
Yeah,
You just know it in
that.
your heart.
Yeah, you know it when you see it. You go, well, what if I do this? Then you do that and go, nah, that
Nah.
doesn't work. So yeah, it's done.
That's
So,
good. I
yeah.
love that. I love that. Well, I know that we're seeing all this beautiful art in your studio. Where can we find your art? Can you tell us your website?
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
tells of shows that you're having and that sort of thing.
So now there's two things. I have a app now. And you can go to Google Play or you can go to Apple Store and type in Michael J. McBride and the app will pop up. You can download the app. So there's most of the things we're getting ready to start doing now be coming from the app. But michaeljmcbrideart.com, that's my website. And Instagram, I can't remember. My daughter handles all my social media stuff, but you can
That's
probably
great,
always
though.
pop in and find that. But Michael J. McBride Art, I think Facebook, I think that's what it is on Facebook.
I'm sure
But,
we're typing that in.
Yeah, but no, the app is gonna be where we're going forward in the future, where everything is gonna be running from.
That's awesome.
Doing that. So.
Well, shall we look at another wall?
Yes, let's look at the black and whites, right
I would
behind
love
us
that.
here. Let's look at those.
Let's move on.
Yes.
We're looking at yet another beautiful series here in black and white. I'm so intrigued. I want to know every story.
All right.
Can you tell us a little bit about this
So,
series?
so this series is, I came up with the idea that I wanted to do a series on African American writers. And so I wanted to start with the Harlem Renaissance, which is the start of the whole Renaissance, especially of African American writing. So I did my research and I started doing images of women and men from the Harlem Renaissance writing. So right here you have James Weldon Johnson up at the top,
Yes.
who wrote Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
And then you have Jessie Fawcett right here,
Yes.
Redmond. She's
Yes.
one of the female Harlem Renaissance writer. You have Dorothy West, which was one of the writers, and then you have Ralph Ellison, which wrote Invisible Man, and of course you had Alice Grumke, one of the writers. So just starting with those writers, and the idea was that for young people and even older people who are not familiar with black writers of the Harlem Renaissance, it was introducing them to these writers who did some great writing and
Yes.
stuff. And so it's very, very interesting. So this is a linoleum block cuts. So I have to draw them and carve them, and then ink them and print them and all that, all hand done. So
Well,
Yeah.
they're spectacular. They really are.
So this is an ongoing series. My iconic series we were just talking about earlier, that's an ongoing series.
Yes.
Of course, the My Father Speaks,
Yes.
that's an ongoing series. So I normally work like that, and then my Black Jockey series, which is with horse racing and stuff,
Yes.
you know, that's an ongoing series. So,
Well, so no rest for the brilliantly talented.
well, you know, that's what keeps it going. You know, there's not a lack of not having things to do. You know, limited stuff to
Absolutely.
do. Mhm.
Well, so many things. Can you tell us what a typical day is in the life of a visual artist? I know teaching plays a part in that.
Teaching plays a part of it, and then normally from teaching, I come to my studio and, you know, do something, either cleaning up the studio or either working on new ideas or framing stuff or packing stuff. You know, it's just all of that. And then my book illustration, I don't illustrate here. I have a small place at home that I do my illustration.
Yes.
Because it's more of a sit-down work, not a big open space
Yes.
thing. So for me, that's kind of a typical day. You know?
Absolutely.
Every day.
Absolutely.
And then the weekends, you know, I'm here in the studio, and in the summertime, I'm here in the studio, and you know.
Do you feel like you'll just be driving along in the car or wake up in the middle of the night and you just get an idea and then you write it down and then you create it? Or do you just sit down in front of a blank page and the page calls out to
So
you?
I have ideas going all the time. I sleep 4.5 hours a night.
Oh,
That's all the sleep I require. You know.
that's amazing.
Yeah, and so I'm inspired by everything around me. People, sounds, smells, everything, you know, nature, everything. I allow myself to be open to all these nuances, because as a creative, and especially as an artist, you have to be open to all of these things, because that's part of what we call filling the cup up, you know, and so from
Yes.
those ideas happen, you know.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to go down another tiny rabbit
Okay.
hole, and I just want people to know the depth of your talent.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, you're an incredible visual artist, but a few years ago, with our group, Arts
Right.
Bellevue, we were
Right.
doing a musical,
Right.
and we needed a proud and powerful king, and you were willing to let us volunteer you,
Right.
and you stole the show on stage as an actor. So I just want everybody to
Well,
know
thank
that.
you. Thank
It's
you.
interesting because my friend went to the show. I had written the show with
Right.
my collaborator, and I said to my friend, so what'd you think about the show? What'd you think about this lyric? What'd you think about this music? And he's just like, I love that king. I said, well, yeah, but what did you think about this lyric? Well, where'd that king come from? So he didn't even want to talk about my contribution. All he wanted to talk about, you stole the show as an actor.
Well, thank you.
So if ever you tire visual arts, which will never happen in this
Right.
lifetime, I think you have a second career waiting.
Okay. I'll take that compliment.
It was
I
great.
appreciate
It was great. Well, shall we move to another wall? Or
Let's
maybe
see.
can we look at, I like her.
Okay. we
Too
can go.
black, too fast. This picture says it all. Speak to us all about
Okay,
this.
Too Black, Too Fast was idea that I came up with back in 1991. It wasn't called Too Black, Too Fast, but it was about the history of black jockeys and horse racing. I did not find out about it until 1991. And so I'm a history buff, so I got into it and got to the library and got to reading up on it. And so me being a history buff, the only thing that I knew to do was create visual arts about it, the ideas that I had from it. So I started doing that, and so in 2005, I hooked up with a business partner of mine now in Too Black Too Fast, and we spent a year and came up with what Too Black Too Fast looked like. It is a multimedia traveling exhibit. It has paintings, sculptures. We've had a play that was written for it. Kathleen has that now. Looking at it, we have a play. We have a one-person thing. We've had music behind it. We have a theme song behind it. If you go on YouTube and click on Too Black Too Fast, you'll see Run, the original video we did, about
Yes.
the whole thing. And so this is one of the paintings. Now the interesting thing about it, these are all oil paintings, and they're painted with Q-tips, cotton balls, paper towels in my hand, and not painted with a regular paintbrush.
Oh,
So that's how this is done.
why did you decide to do that?
Well, it's a technique that I call it the Harris technique. When a year before I graduated from college, I started working with this artist, and she invented this technique. And that's what we were doing animals. I told you we were doing
Yes.
wildlife and animals and stuff. So she taught it to me, and she said, this really would work well for doing portraits of black people and black scenes and stuff and all of that. So,
Well, it's spectacular. I love it. 2 more questions.
okay.
Can you speak to me of your murals?
Oh, okay. So, we did the first murals in Nashville, me and a partner of mine, James Thurkill, in 1986. I think 86 or 87. At that time, we did the first murals on Church Street. Those abandoned buildings we were painting murals on. So we did the very first murals that were in Nashville, and from that point, we did several murals and done several murals. But my latest mural, in which I am most proud of, is the John Lewis mural called Good Trouble. It's down on Commerce and John Lewis Way. And I had 3 exceptional ladies working with me, Donna Woodley and Mickey Yearwood and Rebecca Dimmer. Those 3 ladies worked with me, and then I had a young lady named Sunday Bear. She did my installation, so I had all women. Great team, power women, yeah. So, but it was really great, and that mural was like 63 feet tall and 55 feet wide. So.
And tell us exactly where it is so we can find it.
Right on the corner of Commerce and John Lewis Way.
Gotcha. Well, I feel a field trip coming on very soon.
All right.
And one more question.
Okay.
Your illustrations for books. I think most recently maybe some children's books.
Yeah, all children's books. All been children's books. And my most recent ones that I did, that one that's really getting a lot of acclaim, is called Journey in the Color, and it's about the life of the Harlem Renaissance painter Ellis Wilson, who was from Mayfield, Kentucky. So that book is really getting a lot. Yeah, it's getting a lot of traction. So they have submitted it for different awards. We'll just see if we get in there.
And how can we get that book?
You can go to Shadland Modern Press.
And can you spell that for us?
SHADELAND Modern Press.
Gotcha.
And they're out of Lexington, Kentucky.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Love Leaving Like the Wind.
So-
That's a song title right there. It's beautiful.
You can take it as a song title.
Thank
write
you.
the
Let's
song,
work
go.
on that. I was so taken with this. It conjures up such emotion, but can you tell me your story behind it?
So I had an idea. I wanted to do a painting that has to do with relationships, love and relationship, and how it can be fleeting, in flight. And so I was saying, and then I was thinking like a window, love kind of going out the window. And so as I began to do this, I said, so a woman needs to be in it, but also ghost-like, because it's everything is leading and fleeting. So ghost and everything, it's going. So I have her in the window, and she's a ghost inside this room, and you can tell that love has left her, because you see the emotion in her face and everything like that. It's kind of wrapped, and the head is kind of down. So that was the idea. And then from an academic standpoint, as far as composition and everything, I needed something to go right into her. So putting these colors and these lines moving you and encapsulating her in that, so you really look at her, and that's what you see, and you see the curtain flowing out. And so that's how I came up with the title.
I love it. Just on a personal, do you think she did the leaving or she was left?
That's where interpretation.
Each
to the
person,
viewer. Each
wherever
person,
they're
each
coming
viewer,
from,
right?
where they're coming.
And that's where I always try to teach students, and I was taught, paint so you give the viewer that they can put their experiences on it.
Yes.
And make their decision. It's not wrong or right. It's how it affects them in their decision.
Depends on where you are in your own personal love life, how it's going to hit you.
Exactly.
I'm not going to tell you how it hit me.
All right.
It's beautiful though, and these colors, the bright.
Yeah.
There's something really interesting about the juxtaposition of the bright colors with the ghostly,
right,
mystical feeling.
Right, exactly,
it's quite,
exactly.
and the flowy curtains. It's fabulous.
Thank you.
And I have a birthday coming up.
All right.
I love
All right.
it. Well, let's take a look at this one. I'll get out of the way. And this one is heartstring. And you got to tell me about these textures too, but I want to know everything.
So the piece, Heartstring, it came from a black and white photograph taken by a late artist friend of mine. He was also a TSU alum, but a fantastic photographer and, and leather person and everything. Mm-hmm. And so I saw this photo that he did of this woman, and it was so haunting. And so I said, I love that photo, but I didn't want to just paint the photo. Right. I had to make it my own. And then this style that you see is a style I call it kaleidoscope painting. It's a style that I came up with when I was in graduate school. I came up with this. And I've now got it perfected to this point of where if I had shown you the first ones I was doing and stuff, you can see the progression to getting it to this point. So I wanted it, I didn't want it smooth. I wanted some kind of energy to it. Yes. So this is stuff called like sand grit. So the canvas is white and I just take the sand grit and just grit it, nothing in mind, just laying. And then I painted the picture, and when I painted the picture, it's just amazing where some of the grit hit on the painting.
It's anointed.
So this is one of my favorites.
It's fabulous.
This is one of my favorites. I love this piece.
I mean, I love those colors up there in the circle. And there is Christmas coming up after my birthday.
Right. And so I named it because the first thing when I saw the photograph, I said, wow, Heartstrings. And Heartstring, and there's a song by Earl Klug, the acoustic guitarist, called Heartstrings.
Yes.
And that's what I thought about when I saw that. I could hear that song, and that acoustic guitar in my hand, and since,
It's fabulous.
So I put all that together.
It's fabulous. Well, I had just a few more questions.
Okay.
As an artist, are you a person who, how do you grow as an artist? Do you study a lot of other artists? Do you take classes? Do you go into a meditative state?
Well, it's some of all of that. You're constantly, like I said, as an artist, you're constantly open to nuances and things that are happening. You look at other artists' work, past and present. You look at some artist techniques they're doing that you find interesting. You talk to other artists, you get critiqued by other artists, and you compare your work to some of the things they're doing and some of the ideas. So you're constantly learning. As an artist, you're constantly learning. There's no ever stop learning, because the moment you stop learning as an artist, you die, because it's a lifelong thing. You become a lifelong student.
Absolutely. Interesting. If you were going to give any advice to a young 8-year-old who says, Mom, I want to be an artist,
well,
what would you say?
I guess the best advice would be is that if you have to be passionate. Mm-hmm. I would say that to any young artist, you have to have passion.
Yes.
If you don't have passion, you will not continue to do it, because passion overtakes all of it.
True.
It overtakes skill. It overtakes everything. If you're passionate about it, you're gonna get skilled at it. If it's just
True. Absolutely.
it's got to be passion.
Love that.
And so if you don't have passion, I think that's the only word that I could say.
I love that. I love that. Absolutely. Now, what about for those people who love art, but they don't feel like their particular gift is art, creating it, but they want to collect. But they go,
So-
I know what I like, but any hints for art collectors?
So for people who want to collect art, there's a couple of things I say. I say learn about art. Read about art. The basic things about art. What's good, what's good composition, what's bad composition. You just learn all of these things, and then you decide what it is you like. Now, once you decide what it is you like, then you can start collecting. So you have to think about, there are people who collect to have a collection for monetary values. There are people who collect that just, they want to have it, they want to look at the beauty around them, all the time and doing that. So those are two types of collectors.
Yeah.
So if you're collecting for money, then you need to know what is happening in the art world. You got to be a little bit more astute about the art world, because you can buy something that they say is great and hot, but then in 10 years, it really wasn't. It was just a fad, But if you buying what you love, no matter what, when you come into your home and you look at it, you still get the same feeling. Doesn't matter what your friends say, your neighbors say, it's what you like.
That's beautiful advice.
So that's what I say. If you're trying to be a serious collector, then you have to think about the value and those kinds of things. But if you want to be a collector because you're just passionate about collecting art, buying art, then
Follow
follow what makes you happy when you see
I love that. Now, let me ask you this. I guess the reason we got to know each other was through the most incredible organization, Arts Bellevue.
Yes.
And you are on the board of Arts Bellevue and have been very active, done so many incredible things. Why is it important to you to support the arts?
Well, I think it's important to me to support the arts because as an artist, if you're not supporting what it is you're passionate about, then, it doesn't make any sense. And the reason serving on the board of Arts Bellevue or being a part of it is because the community that I live in, and I want the community to be, passionate about art and understand the importance of it for building a community, and everything, and bringing communities together and ethnic groups together. It just does, the arts period does that. And right now we deal with community arts, we deal with the visual and performance and all of that. So that's the whole idea, is that it breaks down walls and barriers and stuff like that. And it has no color.
Right.
And so that's one of the things that we look at. And so that's why, I love Arts Bellevue, and I think it's a worthwhile organization, and that's why I'm still there and do whatever I can,
Well, you are greatly appreciated.
Well, thank you.
By the students, by the community, by Arts Bellevue, by all the people who love you.
Thank you.
You've made a difference in a lot of lives.
Thank you.
You really have. You're a great artist and a beautiful soul.
Good.
So
and
thank
you're a
you.
wonderful interviewer.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Well, thank you. It's been great to be with Michale McBride, my good friend, and go to these websites and check out his beautiful work. You will fall in love with it. Thank you so much.